Okay, I am so excited for this interview with not only the co-founder of Eden's Glory, which is an incredible ministry that actually I was referred to by a very good friend of mine, another Paul Mitchell school owner, Ginger Reed. And when she tells me to do something, I have to obey what she tells me. So, and I'm super excited to interview these two ladies. Annie Shoemaker is actually the co-founder of Eden's Glory, and then she also has her executive director with us named Holly Hampsch. So I'm super excited to be able to introduce both of them. So first and foremost, Annie Shoemaker is the co-founder of and director of expansion for Eden's Glory and a therapist for Foster Caros, our minors program. Can't wait to find out more about what that is, Annie. And then many hours of learning, research, networking, writing, revising, wrestling, creativity, heart, and prayer have been given to the creation of a 2-year treatment program for survivors of human trafficking. Annie's heart is for the holistic healing of each survivor and is privileged to have walked with a number of women and children through the healing process, as well as consulting with others around the country who have a heart to duplicate this work. And then we have the amazing Holly Hampsch, who I'm sure you can't work without her, right, Annie?
No.
I know how that goes, which is amazing. Your executive director, she's a proud alumna of Greenville College, where she earned her degree in education. Her journey into advocacy began in 2010 at a Passion conference where she first learned about the realities of modern day slavery. Deeply moved, she felt a clear calling from God to support survivors in a tangible, Christ-centered way. 8 years later, you returned to your hometown, and that calling led you to Eden's Glory. Since then, Holly has dedicated over 7 years to the field, serving in a variety of roles, leading to executive director that empowers survivors to encounter Jesus and walk in freedom. So, welcome to the B Series podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much
Thanks
for
for
having
having
us.
us.
Oh, this is going to be so wonderful. And one of the reasons why I say that is because my daughter-in-law, actually my daughter for many years has served with Angel's House, which we helped raise money to for Missions.me to be able to help people that are involved with sex trafficking in Nepal. And then we also have served, my daughter-in-law has served with Christine Kane in the A2 project. I forget the name of it, but the project that Christine Kane has dealt with. And so this is very near and dear to my heart to be talking to both of you. But Annie, first of all, why did you co-found this? When did you co-found this ministry? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, I mean, it started in 2012 when I met Ginger Coakley, the other founder, and she and I realized we had a shared passion to fight trafficking, but just didn't know what that would look like or what to do. And so we gathered a group of community members who also had a passion and started a task force and started raising awareness and leading trainings and going to our own trainings. Um, and through that, we continued to hear from mainly from law enforcement, but like there's nowhere for the survivors to go. If we do find them, if they do get out, they often go back in because there's nowhere for them to land that's safe and healing. And so yeah, we looked around our small rural community, very limited resources, but beautiful, beautiful people, and said, I think this is something that the Lord has for us. So years of prayer, years of research, and more prayer, and just kept saying, okay, Lord, show us the next step. And so in 15, we opened the home for adults. And then a few years after that, opened the program for minors. And man, just watching how the Lord has shown up, affirming those steps, affirming the growth, affirming that it's Him who does the healing. I think it was just such a precious thing for our team to go. We obviously want to be obedient. We're going to get all the research that we can. We're going to get all the training that we can to do it well and to do it with excellence. But at the end of the day, like it's the Lord that provides. It's the Lord that heals. It's the Lord that shows up. And every single survivor that we've been able to walk with has shared an encounter with the Lord that you can see the shift, right? When hope is turned on, when life is turned back around. And so, yeah, that's the why, is because this is an issue that is so overwhelming. The numbers are just breathtaking. But man, when you meet the one and they encounter Jesus and you see the healing, then you go, okay, let's go find another one. Like, let's just, and so the Lord just keeps bringing them. And we have the privilege to keep walking with them. So yeah, it's been a wild ride of faith in all of this.
Yeah, I bet. Annie, tell me like the first story that kind of drew you into this. Like, what was your biggest why?
Oh man. Um, there's a lot, but I think one of the ones that was really compelling, we were leading a training. And so I'm up there talking about what is human trafficking? What does it look like? What does it look like in our own neighborhoods, in our own communities? Trying to paint a picture for the average community member. And afterwards, a woman came up to me with tears and just said, "You just told my story. Like, that happened to me." And that was in our area. And I just, like, kind of this equal gut punch, and also, oh my gosh, then what do I do? And so getting to know her and walking with her, and then it just kind of kept happening where then we had another survivor who was local, um, lived with a couple of us, and just seeing, you don't just go back to life. You don't just, okay, I'm out and now I go get a job and I go do the things. Small moments of just going to the pharmacy with her were so overwhelming and breathtaking for her. She couldn't do it. She was terrified to tell people her name. Like, those kinds of small moments that I just take for granted, and realized this is an extensive healing journey that they deserve. And so where can they go to just shut off the world? Don't worry about expenses. Don't worry about what's next. Just heal. Where
Yeah.
else are you going to get that?
Yeah.
And so we've got to welcome them into a home and say, you're home now. And home is where you rest. Home is where you sleep. Home is where you build safety and connection and relationship. And so, yeah, I think those moments of watching them still years out of their journey, but still struggling immensely and going, oh gosh, they deserve something so much more. So yeah, those are some of the early whys.
Yeah, walk me through that treatment, because I actually serve on a board on a very small community as well too, called Healing Hearts Home, and she's in the stages of trying to get a home, because she said the same thing. She's been telling us as a board, we've got to build a home because they need longer therapy, right? And then recently we just raised money for the Providence House here in Michigan. Same thing. So she built a big, beautiful home for, it's usually for children that have been sex trafficked. So tell us like the healing journey. And it sounds like, do you have two homes, one for adults and one for kids, or how does that work?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So we don't have two homes separate for minors and adults. We do have a safe home for our adults, and then we have outpatient services for our minors. And so those offices are just kind of at our headquarters here, and they do outpatient with clinical therapists, where we also do wraparound services with their parents as well, with our caregiver coach. So yeah. But our adult home, it is a process into that healing space. And we tell them the first year of their time with us is solely to heal. That comes with having no phones, leaving your car behind, just some really difficult choices to make. It so brave for them to step into this space and to say yes to healing, because they're giving up so much. And during their time with us, they're going to experience some holistic healing approaches, where we want to come around them first and foremost with the hands and feet of Jesus. So we want them to know who Jesus is. So we'll have spiritual classes, they attend church and things like that with us as well. Also clinical classes. We have a clinical team here at Eden's Glory who will do therapy services with them. And then we also do some just individual classes with them, helping them learn how to do things like cooking, because they may have never learned as they grew up, and things like laundry and how to clean a house. And so just learning those life skills that they didn't get the chance to learn as they grew up. And then as they move into the second year, then they get some more independence, and that is pretty gradual as we help them step in to society, and they're looking at getting job training, and whether or not they want to take a career path or job path, that's up to them. Sometimes that looks like getting their GED for the first time, helping them learn how to drive because they've never driven before, never had a license. And although that's a very exciting time, it's a little bit scary for us. It's been an adventure in those spaces, and good memories come out of that. But yeah, just helping them know what's next. How do I budget, and how can I step out of Eden's Glory in a way that's going to be successful on my own?
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's a 2-year program generally. And do
Yes.
you find like what is the success rate in 2 years? And then I would love to hear like one of your favorite stories of your success.
Yeah, we have redefined success over the years. I think we naively assumed everybody's going to graduate, everybody's going to want to stay the whole time, and then realized
Mm,
some come and they're not ready for the fullness, and so it may be a shorter period of time. But we're going to take those couple months that we get with them, and then we're going to plant the seeds. And then we have a pretty strong alumni program, so that once they leave, we still stay in
mm,
touch. And so
wow.
um,
Yeah.
we offer classes as needed. We are able to do kind of informal counseling sessions over the phone if that's needed once they come into different milestones. So we realize that everybody's at a different pace of their healing. Um, and so we define success in a number of ways. A, do they meet Jesus? And so if that's the case, we've got 100% success. So that's awesome. B, are they staying out of the life? So how many of them are returning to trafficking once they leave? And we've only had a few that have returned, and a couple of those few have then since gotten back out. One really precious story was a woman who left prematurely. We were devastated.
Mm,
Went back to her old neighborhood and her old crew, and about a month later called and said, I can't do it. I sat in those settings, I was in those spaces again, and I kept talking to them, and they were like, you sound weird, you sound different. And she was like, because I can't do this life anymore. I've now experienced something good and safe and loving. And so it's been neat to hear from a number of them to say similar patterns of like, oh, what that was good. What that was actually was safe and loving. And I want that again. And so it's been neat to stay in touch with them and keep walking with them. But yeah, and then we've had a number of them stay for 18 months to 2 years, and we throw parties for them when they leave, and we have housewarming gifts, and celebrate the ridiculous amount of hours that they poured into classes and healing and medical appointments.
Yeah, just
mm.
this year we got to celebrate 3 graduates,
Yeah.
which was really, really exciting, and actually almost exhausting. So it was like every time
So
we
many
turned
parties.
around, we had another party, and it was just a beautiful thing to experience.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell her about the wedding that we got to go to.
Oh yeah, that was really precious. So we got an invite from one of our alumni who had been really working hard to be independent on her own. She had some struggles when she was in the program, so we were like praying to the Lord that her independence would be really, really good. And He had blessed her independence. She
Mhm.
worked really hard to go into a nursing program, and then all of a sudden we get this invitation to a wedding, and we were just super excited and flabbergasted. And so we got to go experience somebody just show their redemption through the beauty and the sacredness of marriage. And so that was really
Mhm,
cool.
mhm. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So I have so many questions about all of this, but I want to back up just for a second and just
Sure.
say, how do you do it? Like, how do you stay in this? Like, what is both of your why? And I could imagine there's probably so many gut wrenching things that happen, and I'm assuming that you're getting most of the people for Eden's Glory from the police, correct? Is that what it sounds like? They're sending them to you, or how do you find the people to help? How does that work?
Yeah, I would say early on there was a lot more law enforcement, but lately with the increase we see in education and awareness out there, we get more
Okay.
self referrals, so that's exciting.
Wow. Okay.
A call from a woman
Yeah.
that recognizes, oh, I need help. Um, yeah, we get a lot of, and then we've partnered with a couple agencies around the country who go out and do the outreach and the quote unquote rescue work, and do short
Okay.
term, and then they'll refer us for the long
Okay.
term. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you stay in it? What do you what's your why? Both of your whys.
That's a good question. Like, of course, just the faith piece of it is huge, and so my relationship with Christ has just grown astronomically since being in this work. But also, it's come with some spiritual warfare on the side as well. So there's the both the end, and sticking through that. I think there's just one of the things for sure for me is just our staff. And the way that we bond together, we're a family. And so doing this work together, it's really empowering. And knowing that we can do things in Jesus' name that are unthinkable, or it's just really a beautiful space to be. But overall, when you see that light bulb click in a woman and one of our women, that's
Mm,
the moment where you know that, okay, this is why we do what we do. There's a switch, whether that is just some education that they've received and that's helping them in their healing, or whether it's they met Jesus for the first time, the recognition of their worth, those kind of things that are things that just bring us back time and time again.
Yeah,
yeah.
I would echo the faith piece. It's also brought scripture to life in really tangible, beautiful ways. It's hard to not read scripture now and go, oh, like this is literally, when Jesus would encounter somebody and just call them by name, and suddenly there's a shift, or um what he would go through just to encounter one person and offer healing, that didn't make sense. It felt like a waste of time in the world's standards, and yet he just made that intentional pursuit time and time and time again. um Even going back to the Old Testament and the amount of times, right, of the Israelites coming out of slavery. I just think it's hard not now to read scripture and go,
Mm-hmm.
because we've seen, I I have for sure grown in my understanding of who God is and his
Mm-hmm.
ridiculously immense love for us. Um, and the power behind that, and so that is certainly grounding of, okay, we're gonna, and also knowing that it's not up to us, the healing is not up to us, we're gonna show up and be obedient. um but we have a team, and then at the end of the day we have a Lord that he'll do the work, and it's up to him, and we're just gonna be faithful in it. um
Mm.
yeah, and never have I had a job where I could go to work and do the work and also sit on the floor and cry with a staff member, and then pray together and weep together, and wrestle together of, this doesn't make sense, this doesn't look the way that we thought it should look, and then surrender that to prayer. Like, just it's the all encompassing, and fight for marriages together, and um battle through parenthood together. I just, yeah, it's unlike anything any other job I've had. It is, yeah.
I think too, like once you learn more and more about trauma and
Yeah.
how it affects their bodies and some of their stories that they share where they truly haven't experienced love. Like, how can you not want to be in that space to help them know what love is?
Yeah.
And so that's, I mean, those are just the stories again and again that keep coming up that I'm like, of course I'm going to stick through this because you need to know what love is. You're worthy of experiencing that. So yeah, it's eye opening to
Yeah.
experience that alongside of them.
and their
Yeah.
stories get rewritten, the where they were headed, and you see that shift, and now, you go, okay, this is, and the times for the kids that you see, they're going to have a very different adulthood because of the healing that they've done. For the women, they're going to be very different mothers than they would have been, given the healing. When we go train in communities and you see people go, oh my gosh, like we have to do this differently in our family, in our schools, in our police departments. When you see just, yeah, it's those lights turning on of, we just want to slightly begin to shift culture. And that's not just about trafficking. That's about, how are we treating women and children and men? How are we loving each other? How are we recognizing the gaps and the pain? And are we bold enough to enter into the pain? And that's not just trafficking. That's so, I love getting to step into those spaces and see that cultural shift. Like, oh, we could do this differently. We could, parent our children slightly different. As a result, we can love our neighbor differently as a result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that what it's kind of shifted into, is more like parenting advice, parenting training? Is that what's happening here for you?
I would say our trainings have definitely shifted. Early on it was just the basics of what trafficking is, but as the
Yeah.
industry of trafficking has changed and the landscape looks different and more is online, and kids are getting younger and younger being recruited. Yeah, I would say our trainings, so we've trained 25,000 over the last 10 years around the country.
Wow.
And our more recent training certainly encompass a lot more of like internet safety, how to navigate all of this with your children, how to recognize grooming when it's happening, how to set in safety measures in the school districts, those kinds of things. So it's definitely shifted because the landscape of trafficking, kids are far more at risk on their device in their bedroom than they are out in the front yard with the white van driving by. So we're trying to stay on top of that. And yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Tell me about that. So, what kind of stories are you willing to share with us on the podcast, as far as someone being online groomed? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I think recently we heard a story of a young boy who had gotten online onto an online game, and through that game developed a relationship with somebody that they were playing against. And so if you turn that toggle on where you can play with anybody, it's not just your friends, then you're opening yourself up to anybody to walk through there. And of course, you don't know really who's on the other side. And so through that relationship, there was some grooming that he didn't really know about, that was happening. It wasn't obvious at first, but a lot of that turns into like turning them against parents. So they're looking for kids that are saying, man, I wish I could just run away from home. Kids might say that, they're not really going to do it, but they're tired of home. They don't want the rules. My parents are so unfair, those kind of things. So when they're saying those kind of things on their games and talking to people, those are vulnerable sayings that they're saying, okay, so if I can turn them even more against their parents, then maybe I can reach out to them in a way that I can pull them away from home. We can meet for their first time. I believe this young man was asked to meet, and he drove that way, and parents found out and called the police to try to step in as well. There's also things like gifts that were being sent and given to just coerce them further, help them to feel loved and cared for, and
Wow.
those kind of things. So
How old was that boy?
I want to say 13, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
So
I'm assuming that's part of your training with parents, making sure that they don't get on online games. Wow.
Yeah. Our youngest in the minors program was 5 when she started. yeah, and I would say a majority are now
Wow.
online. It's AI, it's the games, it's kids chat rooms where they're being coaxed into sending nude pictures that are then sold. Um, yeah, it's that,
Um,
again, it just takes that slight shift and sexualizes it more and more so that it just feels normal. Everybody's doing this and isolating them that way. So yeah, that's a majority of our parent
You
trainings.
guys, I love this so much, the preventative aspect, of course. And I'm assuming you guys have a vision and a plan to reach every school in the world, right? So,
I agree.
and you've reached 25,000 people so far. I love that. So what's your vision now, as far as reaching? And I'm assuming you're trying to get into public and private schools?
Oh yeah, we'll go anywhere. Yeah,
Okay. Is
yeah,
that what you're going into? Is the like elementaries, high schools, middle schools, all of the above? Is that where you're going?
yeah. As
Yeah.
well as churches and youth groups,
Okay.
Girl
Yeah,
Scout
that's
troop,
good.
uh, yeah, you name it. Uh,
Yeah.
we had a partnership in Michigan. We did some training videos for an after school program. We've got a partnership with an after school program here. So really, we'll go anywhere we're asked, because it'd be
Amazing.
difficult to work ourselves out of
Yeah.
a, and that this isn't a
Yeah.
thing anymore, that we
Yeah.
regain power and say this isn't okay.
Yeah. I love that. So if someone's listening right now and they want a partnership with you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, that's a great question. They can email office@edensglory.org, and that's a way to get in touch with us, so that we can start communicating with one another and figure out what that partnership can look like. But we have opportunities for volunteering and things like that as well. But if they want to hear um, some of our trainings and stuff, that's a great place to start.
Yeah.
We also have, I know we're on Instagram and Facebook, our website. We've got a big campaign going right now, 100K in 100 days. So we're really trying to push that out, so that we can keep doing this work.
Mm.
And we want to be able to offer all of these services for free so that the parents who come to us and say, we have tried everything and nothing is working, we want to be able to say, come on in, like let's do this. And for the women, we want to be able to offer those trainings. So yeah.
Yeah. What would you say is kind of the most common people that get a hold of you?
Maybe clarify the question. I'm sorry.
Is it parents, I'm assuming, or is it the actual victims themselves? Is it someone that knows a victim? Like who is contacting you? What's
Yeah,
common?
I would say it's definitely a variety.
Mhm.
Like Annie shared earlier, we're getting a lot more self referrals, which is a really beautiful thing. Sometimes families come forward. Families are not a safe place. There's a lot of familial trafficking out there,
Okay.
and so that's really grown in the last few years. And then, like we said, other organizations sometimes will be in like a DV shelter, so they have advocates that are with them that are reaching out to us to work with the ladies that they're working with. So
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Let's touch on familial trafficking. I was actually going to ask you about that. And why do you think that's on the rise? And talk a little bit about that.
It's interesting. So we are part of a national coalition of faith-based safe houses. And just a couple years ago, they did a research study and said, gosh, we're seeing this increase and spike in familial trafficking cases. Um, and we were in the room, and I remember going, that's a majority of who we see. Most of the survivors that we've walked with, it was somebody that they knew, a family member, or kind of an adopted family member, or a close friend or trusted person in their life. So we weren't surprised by. I was actually surprised that others were surprised, because that's a majority of what we had seen. Um, and it's families that are desperate, families, the generational, we saw that a lot of grandma did this, mom did this, so I was next in line. I had to do this to help take care of my family, whether it was drugs or poverty, incarceration, homelessness, whatever it was, just these individuals that felt like I don't have another choice. I don't know what else to do. And this is all I've known. And so maybe the sexual abuse started really young. And so then, well, this is what love is. So that it's been certainly eye-opening as an industry to start to unravel. And that's a whole healing journey that's a lot harder to walk through when it's somebody that
Yeah.
we're supposed to trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another young lady that I know, she was trafficked by her grandmother, and she started a nonprofit in Fort Myers, Florida, actually.
Wow.
And so she has filled me in on quite a few instances, and she said it's very, very, very common, especially in her Spanish community, and which is so sad. And so how do you keep from being angry? Right? Because I can just imagine, I just like one of my biggest things is just like knowing, even if I'm in a store and seeing a child being verbally abused, like it eats me up inside, and I just want to take that parent and slam them up against the wall. You know what I'm saying? And so I just have like this deep-seated like sadness, deep sadness. And so we're actually going to be starting to teach parenting circles in a really amazing nonprofit that we have in our town, in hopes to start getting to the parents to be able to teach them what healthy parenting looks like, right? And because I know it's stressful, right? Raising children. And
Right.
so, but what is, and I know, and I'm probably going to call this Be Faithful, because I know it's your faith. And so walk through that with those of us who, like, I don't know if I could ever do what they do. I don't think I could, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think first and foremost, you need the safe places to say the things that you can't really say in places that are inappropriate, right? And so we'll say things. A curse word has come out before, here,
Oh.
here and there, and
Here and there. I'm going to kill him.
and so
Yes.
we can talk to
Yeah.
when that's appropriate.
Mhm.
And also we hold that on one side, and on the other side, I think we all truly believe that the other side deserves healing too.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
Why
Is
are
it possible though? Is it possible? The other
yes.
side? Have
Yeah.
you guys seen it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We actually had one of our girls go to a CR, and I don't know that he was involved in trafficking, but he was involved in some kind of sexual abuse towards women. And he got up one day giving his testimony and stood up and said, I am so sorry. This is what I've done, and this is my past. And I want to apologize to every woman who is in this room that this is who I was, or this is something that I've done that I'm not proud of, and this is not who I am anymore. And I have changed. And so she came back saying, that's all I needed.
Mhm.
I just needed an apology from one man
Mm.
that, like, now I feel like I can forgive my own trafficker. I just needed to hear that somebody cared and they were sorry for what they did. So yeah, we absolutely believe that it's possible. And of course that comes with knowing Jesus. I don't know how it's possible without Jesus.
Yeah. I can't imagine. Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
we've seen several of our women forgive their traffickers, whether or not there was change on their side or not. So those have been beautiful transformations as well. So yeah, holding the both hand. We do get angry, but also knowing that, man, whatever happened to them as a kid to react this way as an adult, they deserve the healing too.
Yeah. And that was one of the comments from one of the women early on that really has stuck with me. We had a local church was bringing in somebody to speak who had been involved in trafficking. And I was furious and said, what, are you kidding me? Like, we're going to give him the pulpit. And so I told the ladies, we do not have to go to that church. Like, I was real fired up. She stopped me. One of the women stopped me and said, "We don't know what happened to him. And so
Mm,
who knows who hurt him? So who are we to not forgive if he's also been hurt? Like that's our responsibility." Um and it the women that have somehow, again, not somehow, with Jesus, grabbed onto that forgiveness element, they're the healthiest, thriving. They're they're doing far better than any of us could ever imagine. And again, because it's more healing on their end. We were also at a conference in the spring, and there was a real huge push of men coming forward, confessing, and saying, we've got to do better. We have to be different. And so that's also healing, to see men on the other side, to say, here's my story. It started in childhood for me too. And then this is the route that I took, and it's not okay. And I've got to do something about it. And so that's been, to get to see them up front trying to do better and shift the tide and calling men out. And it's not just men, 40% of traffickers are women. So to see the
yeah.
shift on them and go, I mean, that's where the real change happens, right? If we can end the demand for it, if we can heal those wounds that are demanding this, then yeah. So rare, but it is absolutely possible. So
Yeah.
lean into that.
When you say 40% women perpetrators, and is that in the effect that they are the actual abusers, or are they recruiting? Like, how does that work when you say women?
Yeah, it's a both and. So sometimes mothers are in those circumstances, like you said, a grandmother. But also when they're in the life, they often get pushed to do a lot of the recruiting as well. And so yeah, you'll see a lot of
go
that
out and
with
bring
women.
friends in, and yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So when you are doing your classes, which I think is absolutely incredible that you're doing that all over the country, that's beautiful. I love that. Are you also doing trainings to like, how do you help people who are perpetrators? So maybe there's people in the room that's like, oh my gosh, I'm one of them. What do you do with that training? Or do you help people identify who could be a
Yeah,
perpetrator?
it's more referrals. We've learned over the years, still learning what we can do and what we can't do, and knowing that there's some out there that are doing that work really incredibly, and so referring them that direction and just saying,
Yeah,
you know, we see you, and actually let's just pray together, and here's our recommendation to get treatment, to get your own help. We don't have our own resources with that.
yeah,
um,
okay.
but yeah, and I think it also lends to the fact that boys are trafficked as well. We have boys in our minors program, and I've always wondered, like, okay, what is it that happens to a girl, so then she ends up in the life later on? What happens to a boy that ends up being the trafficker later on in life? And so if we're not providing services for boys and men, then we're just going to keep in
Yeah,
this cycle. So there is a desperate need in our country for more services for men, safe places for men and boys to come forward and say, I'm
yeah.
not okay. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Churches need more spaces to say, I'm addicted to pornography. I need help. We just have to have a dramatic cultural shift, especially in the faith community, to say,
Yeah,
I have an addiction and I'm not
yeah,
okay, without
yeah,
shame, without, you know, how did they get help? So
yeah. Yeah, I was just interviewing someone yesterday for the podcast, and we were talking about addiction, not just to substance abuse, but also to other things, such as food and, list of things. And then pornography was the big one. And he said that is the number one thing that he is coaching people through is pornography. And would you say that's because of so much access to online?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And I also noticed that it's not talked about too often in the church circles, and it does happen. Like we all know, you hear these crazy stories, of pastors and things like that. What do you think is the secret to that, to get the word out?
Well, it's educating ourselves first. And so finding the right
Yeah.
resources to really understand. One of the things that those who are watching pornography probably do not know is that 99% of those that are in pornography situations or doing porn are being trafficked.
Yeah.
They're not doing this willingly. And so men are walking into those situations, they have no idea. Some might, but it's pretty rare that statistic is out there. And so starting with just education of what they're really watching. They're not watching something that's real. They're watching something that's forced.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
to be able to have spaces and places where they can share vulnerably and where they're sharing with men who are struggling with that too. And in a way that's not shameful. It is something that everybody, like many men are struggling with. And so let's talk about it. Let's figure out how to step out of it. It's like a drug. It is like as addicting as, and so let's figure out what those coping skills are to start lessening and getting away from that.
Wow. Yeah. No, this is so good, you guys. And what advice do you give, someone might be listening to this that has children, to identify that maybe their children are watching pornography, right? What advice would you give to be able to kind of identify if that might be happening? What are some clues, if you will?
Yeah, we tell parents it's not if, it's when that their child is going to encounter pornography. Teen boys are the largest consumer in the US of pornography. And so we tell parents, you've got to talk to your kids often and frequently and consistently about when this happens, here's what I want you to do, right? So when you first see that picture that makes you uncomfortable, and do it age appropriately, right? But when you first see that picture that makes you uncomfortable and they don't have their clothes on, or however you want to describe it, we've got all kinds of tools for different ages. Then come talk to me, and you're not going to be in trouble. I'm not going to yell at you, because it's going to happen. You're going to see it on the bus. You're going to see it on the playground. You're going to see it at your friend's house.
Right.
Because now kids have phones all the time. It's part of our push to like get phones out of the schools, to avoid smartphones until the age of 16. So really trying to push those things, because part of it is also the brain development of the child, right? We're putting these things in their hands that their brains are not ready to handle. So you start an addiction like that at the age of 7, give their brain a little bit more space to then recognize and go, oh, wait a minute. At 7, there's a curiosity. We also see and know that like our brains are designed to learn by mimicking. And so if a child sees a pornographic video, then their natural instinct is to then mimic what they saw in the video to learn, right? So just as a child learns to walk by watching another child walk, and they go, oh, I want to try that, or by using words, by listening to you and how you use that word and what that means, they're going to do the same thing with those videos. And so we've also got to watch our children and watch, how are they behaving? Are they acting weird? Are they doing things that are not age appropriate? Do they know things that are not age appropriate? Are they isolating to their rooms? We have so many like ideas and perspectives on how to manage phones in your home and devices and all of that. Because once you start to see that shift in the personality, more shame, more secrecy, more, edginess and anxiety, aggression, severe, especially around screen time. Those are the things to watch for.
Do you guys do like things for youth groups too, all over the country? And
oh yeah,
that's great. We need you in our church.
We'll come.
Absolutely.
We'll be
Need to
there.
get you. I'll be telling my daughter about this. I have 3 grandchildren, so all I want to do is protect them, from
Yes.
all of
Yeah.
this. So
It's real.
yeah, it is real. And wow, this is amazing. And I know, oh my gosh, we're getting to the end. I'm looking at the time. I'm like, oh no. So I am entitling this called Be Faithful. And the reason why I'm doing that is just because both of you are so faithful, and I just honor both of you for what you're doing and how you're serving, and your information is incredible. It needs to get out to every church, every home in this entire world. I think if people are educated, once they know better, they're going to do better, right? And so it's unbelievable. And hopefully we can get this, press, share this with everybody that you know, so that these women can get into your home, into your church, into your schools. And I'm sure you have communities. And so I'm assuming are you meeting in person, or do you do things online sometimes for people too?
Nice. Yep. We'll do both. We
Oh,
are happy to travel, and we're also happy to do
right.
Zoom meetings. And yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Education is key. And thinking about this too, Annie and Holly, why is this not being taught? Or maybe it is, maybe I'm just blind to this, in elementary, middle school especially, and high school, as part of a curriculum.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Is that happening yet?
We've been wanting
Wanting to
answers
know.
to ourselves, but there's just a lot of fear.
Yeah.
A lot of fear with that subject. And is it going to be too much for our students to hear? What are our parents going to say? What kind of electronics are going to be pulled out of the school system? And then how do we respond to that if we don't have computers in front of them all day long to help with
Yeah.
that? So
Yeah. There's a lot of pushback.
mhm.
Yeah.
Rough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So in our day, it was magazines. Now it's the computer, which is way
Right.
worse, right? So
Yeah.
unbelievable and sickening. And Holly, you hit the nail on the head that if you're looking at a magazine, if you're looking at online, do you not know that those are trafficked kids? Those are victims, and you're staring at evil in the face. Like, recognize evil. And I think it just goes back to, do you know, like, the first sign of evilness, And so it's like, what does that look like? And so thank you for your faithfulness in this. And I love the education that both of you guys are giving. What more do you want to make sure our listeners hear today that you've been wanting people to know?
I think we all have a role.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I first learned about trafficking in college, it was this like, oh, then I've got to move to another country, and I've got to, be Liam Nielsen, and all the all the things. And then realizing, like, well, maybe it's just that maybe I raise my children differently, and we don't have screens available.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's that I advocate for safe spaces to talk about porn in the church. Or
Yeah.
I just think we can all make these slight shifts that matter, that really do push back the darkness, that really do bring light. And my goodness, how many kids just need to know that they are valued, and that they are worthy, and that we see them. I mean, those messages alone. So we
Yeah.
all have a role. It may not look like starting a home. It may look like raising our kids differently. It may look like taking in the neighbor kid that drives you crazy, and just loving on them, and realizing there's a reason that they're having those behaviors.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing we just really want people to know: to not feel overwhelmed, to not feel terrified, and not go hide, right? We all want to hide. But instead, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do today? What's my job today?
Yeah. No, that's good. That's being faithful. I love
Right.
that. But how about you, Holly? What's something that you want people to know?
Yeah. That I guess if they want to get involved with something like Eden's Glory, that there are so many variety of ways for people to to assist and to help. I know it feels like for men, we often have men say, is there anything that we can do? We know that obviously we can't be in front of the women, but yeah, we have a home that needs maintenance. And so find your local human trafficking safe
Yeah.
home and see what their needs are. Can you go swing a hammer for them? Because guaranteed they've got some house maintenance that is needed, or they need their landscaping done. Those kind of things really do make a difference, and it gives a break to the staff that are working so diligently and hard in some really dark places. So yeah, anywhere they can lend a hand. Even we've had even 80-year-old women coming to teach classes. They'll do a Bible
Aw.
study, or they might knit a blanket or something just to show them that they're loved, writing letters to the women to encourage them, or to the kids to encourage them as well. So there's just
Yeah.
so many tangible ways that they can get involved in helping organizations like ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. I
Oh,
love that.
9-year-old. We have a 9-year-old that gives his Christmas money every year.
Uh-huh.
And so it always comes in the form of like $5 and it comes in the mail. And I just, goodness, if a 5-year-old and an 80-year-old can do something, then I think we can all.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, I wanted to ask you this in the beginning. Why did you call it Eden's Glory?
Yeah. Oh God. I mean, naming something is a nightmare. Because the names are taken and going through the LLC, all that.
Mm-hmm.
We knew first and foremost, this has to be for the glory of God. Because if it's for even if it's for the survivors, we're going to burn out and we're going to get discouraged and we're going to lose sight and we're going to miss all the things. And so this has to be every single day, whatever we're doing has to be for the glory of God. And so we wanted that constant reminder in our language. And then just the idea, the imagery of the survivors getting to go back to God's original design for them and encounter him in the Garden of Eden, and to experience the goodness and the love and the safety and the peace. Like, we know we're not going to get the fullness of that until heaven, but man, could we give them a taste of that? Like, where
Yeah.
they just come back. And so that was the heart behind the name. So, and then Foster Kairos, our minors program.
Mm-hmm.
Kairos is a Greek word for a unique moment in time. And
Mm.
so how cool to be able to foster these moments in time for these children to say, we see you, we believe you, and we
Yeah.
absolutely want to love on you and help you heal, to then create a different story moving forward. So yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that. Thank you both so much for being on the podcast. And I was wondering, Annie, if you wouldn't mind praying us out. There may be someone listening right now that just doesn't see that they are, God's child, and perhaps maybe they're thinking, I don't feel any of that either. I feel isolated and lonely, or maybe they're involved in pornography themselves right now as they're listening to this as well too, or maybe they're stirred in their heart that they want to help an organization like yours. And so I think it's amazing that you are helping across the nation too. So thank you.
Absolutely. Jesus, we just come, so thankful for this space, for this time, for Tina's courage to say, let's go into this conversation, let's get this word out. And God, you know each of the listeners right now. You know the spaces that they're struggling. You know the spaces that they are aching, that they are longing for something different. You know the spaces of apathy, the spaces of loneliness, of fatigue, the spaces of overwhelm and stress. And God, we know that your arm is not too short to save. And so we ask that you would reach across the waves and meet each person, each listener, right where they're at. Give them the courage to say yes to whatever it is that you're calling them to, that stirring in their gut of, oh, the Lord's saying something here. God, would you make it clear what it is that you are saying, not what we are saying, but what you are saying to them. And maybe that's a step toward healing, their own healing journey. Maybe it's a step to confess and admit their own addiction. Maybe it's a step of sharing vulnerably for the first time about a wound. Maybe it's a step out of apathy and into engaging something that's scary, something that's daunting, something that is going to be really uncomfortable. Lord, I don't know what it is for each of them, but you do. And so, Jesus, would you meet them and give them the courage to say yes? Would you lock eyes with them and call them by name into whatever it is, and then equip them and remind them that they don't have to have it all together. They just need to say yes. And so we today say yes to you, Jesus, and ask for that same courage for each of the listeners. Thank you, Jesus, for who you are, for the ways that you work, for the ridiculous love that you have for each of us. We love you and we trust you. In your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you both so much for being on the podcast. All right. Take care. All right, you too. Bye-bye.